Hello and welcome to Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you the things that you may have missed in your favourite games so that you can look really cool in front of a Jehovah's Witness. Leaving a like is always a really cool thing to do, and be sure to leave your suggestions in the comments down below and I'll make sure that you get a shout out in the credits at the end of a future video. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. Right, let's begin today's video with Left 4 Dead 2. Now, a few weeks ago, I shared a video of some of the coolest details in Valve's Zombie Classic, but there was one really cool detail that I overlooked. During the concert part of the Dark Carnival campaign, you make your stand on a stage. Now, I knew that speaking into the microphone would cause your character's voice to be heard on the concert speakers, but I didn't know that if you approach the microphone when playing as either Ellis or Coach, they will sing into the mic.
Gotta reach for the top, stay on the mountain, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Every lady's crazy when her daddy's not around, da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Gotta reach for the top, stay on the mountain. Every lady's crazy when her daddy's not around.
I'll let you guys decide who sang it better, Coach or Ellis. Let me know in the comments. Now, if I'm honest, the main reason I'm including this next detail is because it reminded me of a childhood story that myself and my friends still laugh about to this day. So bear with me as I take a trip down memory lane. When Grand Theft Auto San Andreas first released, everyone I knew wanted to play it. The trouble was that it was a single player game, which meant me and my friends used to take it in turns. Once you die, you hand over the controller. Now, the unwritten rule here was that you couldn't just hold the controller by obeying the law. You had to get the attention of the police and survive. Well, one of my friends ignored that rule and stole a helicopter. He then proceeded to fly around the map for what felt like an age. It was then that another friend said that if you press triangle, you'll get a nitro boost. Of course, we all know that triangle is the button that you press to get in and out of vehicles. So our friend, who wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, pressed the button and plummeted to his death, meaning he had to hand over the controller. Honestly, I don't think I've laughed so much in my entire life. The look on his face was priceless. So what's that got to do with Goat Simulator 3? Well, in Goat Simulator 3, you can unlock the fireworks launcher, which, as you've probably guessed, launches fireworks. Well, when launching fireworks with reckless abandon, there is a chance that a message will appear in the explosion. So the message in the firework says press Alt F4. Now, for those of you who don't know, pressing Alt F4 usually closes the current window on your PC. So if you press those buttons when playing Goat Simulator 3, it would close the game. Much like that friend of mine, I'd love to see the look on the person's face that pressed Alt F4 without knowing what it did. Now, in the last episode of this series, I shared the fact that SCP-5K realistically demonstrated trigger discipline, meaning that when the gun wasn't being ready to fire, your character's finger was off the trigger. It was at this point I asked if you guys knew of any other games that depicted trigger discipline, and a couple of recommendations were shared. First up is Dying Light 2, which, thanks to a new update, now lets players use guns. Now, when standing idle, your finger is clearly on the trigger, which isn't trigger discipline. But when you put your arms up to defend yourself, you can clearly see that your finger is off the trigger. So it's not quite perfect, but it is still cool. The other game that was mentioned was Counter-Strike 2. Now, this suggestion really got my attention, as it was said that the counter-terrorists showed trigger discipline whilst the terrorists didn't, which I thought was a really cool way of showing the difference in training and experience the two factions have. However, whilst that is true, it only applies to the weapon inspect screen and not actually in-game. So as you can see here, when holding the pistol, the counter-terrorist's finger is off the trigger, and they are generally keeping their gun aimed towards the sky. On the other hand, the terrorists will have their finger on the trigger and be far more casual with their weapon. This applies to every weapon that can be equipped by both factions, but it's a shame that it's not reflected in-game. Next up is Duke Nukem Time To Kill. Now, the Duke Nukem games have always prided themselves on giving players the option to interact with pretty much everything in the game world. I mean, Duke can even take a Wii. Well, this next detail shows how cool these interactions can be. If Duke interacts with the cigarette machine, he will gradually lose health, which is because even Duke knows that smoking is bad for you. The thing is, if you then interact with the vending machine next to it, Duke will start to gain health back. I mean, you could argue that the food in the vending machine isn't exactly healthy, but it's still a cool detail. The final detail is, well, see for yourself.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Laura, is that you?
So after some very excited moaning, Duke asks if the person on the phone is Lara, aka Lara Croft. I mean, I'm guessing the reason that she's so excited is because she just liked the video and clicked subscribe. I mean, personally, I've never heard a woman make noises like that in my entire life. Now, if there's one thing that I love when making these videos, it's being told that I missed something from a really good game, because that means I have a reason to go back and play it again. In the Old Wounds mission in Black Ops 2, you begin the mission by mounting a horse and riding across the desert. Now, despite playing more Black Ops 2 than I care to mention, I never knew that you could do this.
Contact Bajal.
We're on our way to the Mujahideen camp now.
What the hell are you gonna do with that?
You never know.
So instead of jumping straight on your horse, you can grab a sword from a nearby body and take it with you. I mean, ultimately, it has the same effect as your standard melee attack, but it's still something that I didn't know. Right, let's end today's video with Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines. Now, this game has been on my to-do list for a while now, mainly because I really wanted to play it, and because I've been told it has some really cool details. Now, Bloodlines was made using Valve's Source engine, which means that you can open the in-game console and give yourself a helping hand. For example, as soon as you begin the game, you can give yourself some experience points. But if you do, the very first NPC will call you out on it.
I'd be pissed if this wasn't so cute. Look at you trying so hard. It's absolutely precious. Yeah, whenever you're done, sweet cheeks, we can move this show along.
So if you apologise for cheating, then you'll be sent back to the main menu to start a new game. However, if you claim to be using a mod, then the game will carry on as normal. I really like that the game knows you cheated and calls you out on it, but then lets you decide what to do next. The other detail in Bloodlines also sees us using the console. One of the rarest weapons in the game is the Sheriff's Sword, which belongs to this intimidating chap. Now, you can't obtain this sword through legitimate means, but you can give it to yourself using the console. And if you check out your shiny new sword, its description will say, "You're not supposed to have this, now you do," which is actually kind of funny. So that's it. If you know of any cool things in games that you think I should check out, then please leave them down in the comments. Big or small, obvious or not obvious, if I think it's cool, I'll include it in a video and of course credit you like these people here. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.